Hey up, folks. Me. I'm having a mull, as one does. Right, so a kind of roundup, just a bit of a roundup this morning, I think. I've just had a rest, having a bit of a rest yesterday after the Warrior Teachers Conference, which was held here in Manchester, which was astonishing. I mean, absolutely astonishing. So my thanks to everybody that came, all of whom are part of the winning mindset team. And I spent the day in awe. And suddenly a great awe fell on him and hit him on the head. Right? So I spent the day in awe, in all honesty. And we were so lucky in that we had Baroness Claire Fox come to see us and speak to us about free speech, which was great. You know, the team were engaged. And then we all went for a bit of a jolly, which was lovely. And then we went for curry, which was lovely. But I never thought 2 years ago when I started the winning mindset that this was where we would end up. And it's an extraordinary thing to imagine that a conversation sparked by Alex Aharon of Gender Mapper with 8 American, Swedish, Canadian mums who'd lost children to gender identity ideology, and then led to the day before yesterday being the first Warrior Teacher Conference. We had people there from Germany, people there from America. They didn't come over especially, but they happened to be in the country at the same time. So it was in many ways it was very emotional. It was very emotional because I never expected to get to meet everybody, but it was so lovely to do so. And it reminded me of the importance of human contact, you know, that getting together. I think it's really important that if you can do that you do it. So I'm looking forward to growing the project. We'll see whether I do or not, because if people don't sign up, I don't get to do it, but hopefully people will. So that was me out of the picture for a day. And then yesterday I was bloody exhausted. So I thought, here, saw this for again. Was I going to watch a movie? So I did. It's called, what was it called? It's What's Inside That Matters, I think it was called. So it was very good. It gets it. There's a few films coming out now that get it. That and Long Legs. Ooh, Long Legs. Cross between Dress to Kill and Silence of the Lambs. That'll give you shivers, that will. So it was nice to have that day relaxing. I got up this morning, I thought, my goodness me, there's so much going on. It's difficult to pick one thing. Because we are very active right now. There's Protect and Teach are doing great work. You know, have a look at Protect and Teach. They're doing great work. But yet we've got some absolute nonsense going on at the same time. I mean, the Spanish had a trans man football team that took on the men and got absolutely smashed. I wonder why they got absolutely smashed. Could be the fact that they're women. That might well do it. We've got schools that are just simply ignoring caste. That's in Scotland. They've no interest in implementing it. They're pretending that they are. They're saying that they are. But when you go and look at the meat and potatoes, they're not. They're actually not implementing caste at all. So James S. has done a great piece on Matt Goodwin's Substack today, if you want to go and have a look at that as well, on what these bloody schools are up to and the things that they're telling kids. I mean, we've got no chance of getting any legislative change from this on the Labour Party while this is happening. So parents, you are where it's at now. You are where it's at. Complain. Speak to Our Duty. Speak to Bayswater Support. Speak to Protect and Teach. Find out what your kids are doing. Understand this stuff. Get your head round it. Go in there. Complain. Make a fuss. Make a noise. Get together with other parents. Because otherwise they are not going to stop. They are not going to stop. That's Scotland. And it's just as bad down here. There's no intentions of stopping whatsoever. And then I got a message yesterday saying that a report came out from Simon Fanschel's company, which is a Diversity by Design, I believe the company's called. And I've got an awful lot of time for Simon. There was going back a couple of years, right, I was ill. I've still got the scars to prove it. And I may not come out of the operating theatre ill. That's a bit of a right in your mind. When somebody tells you that, go home, put everything in order. You're going into hospital. So I went into hospital and there was this gorgeous surgeon who was about 9'5". That's what he looked like, 9'5", ginger surgeon, beautiful man. And of course, to me, by the time he'd finished with me, he looked like God. It was like a halo around his head, you know. But I went in and they took a vein out of my neck, right from the inside of my neck, and they opened it up and scraped it out, sewed it together and put it back in again. Absolutely phenomenal. No idea how they do that. But I'm the patient from hell. And this is during COVID, right? So I'm out. So I go in beforehand, as you do, just to get yourself sorted and get ready to go in. And there was none of this, go in, we're going to anaesthetise you, then we'll take you into the operating room. They just took me into the operating room when I was like a kid in a candy store. I'd never seen anything like it. It looked like something out of Star Trek. I was, what's this do? And what about that? What's this for? Why is that hanging off the wall? I was like some kid. And the doctor, or the nurse ended up saying to me, will you just get on the table? And then I turned to get on the table, and it looked like something out of one of these films where they execute somebody by lethal injection. No wonder they anaesthetise you in a separate room. So I went in and I lying there, and then they put all the stuff in and knocked me out and did the operation. I woke up and I was like the damned elephant man. And I said to the woman here that these two women were sat by me for 24 hours a day. I had to have people with me. I was in a high dependency unit, I think it is, not intensive care, high dependency. And I managed to I peeked all the nurses while I was there, just like you do, but I looked like the elephant man, and I had a catheter in, which was a horrifying experience. And then eventually when I managed to get up with a drip of blood coming out my neck and all this sort of stuff, both nurses burst into laughter and said, give us your phone. I said, what? Give us your phone, we're going to take a photograph. So they did. And I looked like Miriam Margolyes. I'd gone in, a 59-year-old gay man, and I came out an 82-year-old Jewish lesbian. Extraordinary experience. But before I went in, I rang Simon. I'd never spoken to Simon before that. I rang him, and Simon will verify this, I'm sure, if you were to ask him. Because I was involved in a very important project with some PhD students, which we got to the end of, but only just because they were bringing in the nonsense. And I told Simon what was going on, that I left instructions about what was about and who he had to speak to, so that he could take over in the event that I didn't come out of the operating room. That's some dark shit, isn't it? And it was lovely. We had a chat, right? It was great. So I've got enormous time for Simon. And this report has just come out, and it's 58 pages long, I think it is, and I've read it. Okay? So I'm going to put the link to the report under this, on the Substack and on the YouTubes, and urge you to read it. And then I'm going to sit down and spend some time today analysing and mulling about what I think about it, because I'm not sure. I mean, one of the groups I was in, somebody put in, have you read the report? And I put, yes, I have. I'm mulling. It's a big report. It needs reading. And then I'm going to tell you what I think, and whether or not I think what Simon's written is useful, and I'm sure there will be some stuff in there, or whether what I think Simon has written is not. Because he's written a report about whether or not EDI is valid. Whether, how do we do good EDI? And I am now firmly of the opinion that you can't. So I'm coming right at it from the other end now, Simon. I'm going to go, right, let's pull this apart, because I don't think you can. Now, I produced a sort of simple table going back about 3 or 4 years ago, which was part of my program of teaching with students. And I'm going to put that table on the Substack. So it's on the Substack table, right? I'll stick it on Twitter as well, right? So you can get it. And what I think the difference is between EDI and DI. And then I'm going to look at Simon's work, and I'm going to say, right, Simon, where I am with it. But I made this table when I thought it was savable. I now don't think it's savable. And the reason that I say I don't think it's savable is because throughout my rather exciting and sometimes debauched life, I have worked in the fastest growing industries in the world. And by that I mean video, I mean game, I mean cable TV. These were the fastest growing industries in the world. And I was in all of those when they had minuscule numbers of staff and were just getting started. And I saw them grow to enormous sizes. Video I saw grow phenomenally. And I've worked in all these industries in which it was the fastest growth we've ever seen, and in which we required people to be able to do the damn job and do it well. And I was thinking back to this, thinking about, well, when I was, working in these organizations and doing teaching and all sorts of stuff, was it diverse? Well, yes, it was diverse. I was taught to teach by women. The vast majority of people who ran the stores were women. My right-hand man while we were working was black. At least 5 of the stores in the region I was working in were run by Asian people. And there was diversity. And not only that, there was diversity of thought. We used to bitch and moan about all sorts all the time, but we got together and collaborated and got the job done. And none of that needed EDI. And yet, the video industry was one of the biggest the world ever seen. The games industry is the biggest the world has ever seen. And just about everybody's got cable in their home now. So please tell me how we managed to get all of that done without any need for EDI at all. So I'm coming at Simon's report, and I think it was Maggie as well, somebody called Maggie, Simon's report, from a sort of self-informed experience point of view, but also from a cynical end. And I think we need to do that because Simon does excellent work. But what I don't want is to replace what people call EDI or DIE with some more nonsense that is equally open to corruption as this has been. Because I don't think anybody's got the ability to stop that, because what I see from the report to begin with is no recognition that what we are dealing with are people who are subclinical psychopaths. Subclinical, not psychopaths as in, Clarice, but subclinical psychopaths, and people who are narcissistic, right, and Machiavellian. I don't think that's recognised in the report, and that's the problem. But that's just my first initial reading, so don't take anything from it. I'm going to have a deeper look, and then maybe I'll mull with you a bit more. Other than that, come and be a warrior teacher in November. We're starting in November. Be great to see you. Let's keep going, folks. Okay, you have a great day. I'll see you later.